Hey everyone, Liv here. I am a project manager at PE Partners. We're an executive search firm and we focus on value creation roles across strategy, finance, and operations. What I've got here is a bit of an overview for anyone who is aspiring to become a private equity portfolio company CFO. Hopefully, this will be really helpful. Here is the roadmap about what we're going to be talking about today. Going to start off with some critical context that answers the key question: what is driving the demand for quality portfolio company CFOs? Then we're going to move on to discuss some of the key elements of a classic portfolio CFO job description before tackling ideal candidate backgrounds. We're then going to shift gears a bit and talk about what you can do to help stand out and be recognized as a fantastic potential portfolio company CFO. Lastly, we'll be looking at some of the trends in compensation, so you've got a good idea about what sort of a salary a role like this can command. Okay, so the first thing driving demand for great portfolio CFOs is that the sheer number of deals being done in the PE world is on the up. As you can see in this graph, there was a 35% increase in the number of deals being done from 2020 to 2021, and this is building on top of a prior decade's worth of upward trajectory. The second factor is the centrality of the CFO in current understandings of value creation. Most value creation within private equity firms' portfolio companies is driven by operational improvements. So this includes things like overhead optimization, production optimization, optimizing the firm's financial structure, capital access support, and capital efficiency improvements. Next up, platform deals or acquisitions are a really popular tactic employed by PE firms that requires a really good CFO to manage. A platform deal is generally the first acquisition at a PE firm within a given industry. The intent thereafter is to roll up or acquire other smaller companies within that same industry. In short, there is a high demand for strategic CFOs whose skill sets fall into one of the following categories: strategy, finance, transaction, or tech, or span multiple of those categories. So moving on to job descriptions, I'd say the first core component of a CFO's role is pretty self-explanatory. That is great finance leadership. The second is going to be taking a leading role in facilitating key projects within the company. And then third, especially in a context where the PE portfolio company is focused on platform deals, is to successfully head up the M&A/add-on process. So we work with a lot of different PE firms to fill CFO roles. And here, generally speaking, are some of the things they tend to look for when it comes to an ideal background. Now, there's always going to be some exceptions here, but it's important to understand that our starting point from the recruiting side of things at the kickoff of any search will probably hew pretty closely to these ideals sketched here. So if our client is after a CFO that leans a little heavier on the strategy side of things, we're probably looking for a candidate who has spent at least a few years at one of the Tier 1 or Tier 2 strategy management consulting firms. For a more out-and-out finance-focused CFO, our clients are likely going to want a candidate who have some experience at one of the big 4 companies. If the CFO role is going to involve a lot of transaction work, we'd probably expect that client to look more favourably on candidates whose backgrounds were more in investment banking or corporate development. Finally, if the goal is to revamp the company's tech stack, or the CFO is expected to head up critical digital transformation efforts, they're going to be looking for a background that reflects this. Perhaps a combination of transformation experience at a big 4 or top 8 strategy firm, and then some hands-on experience as a VP of finance or operations. This slide here lays out some of the common ingredients to a CFO career path. Like I said, there's really no one-size-fits-all category, but hopefully these are some helpful starting points. Okay, so on to the part where we discuss some tangible things that you can do to help prepare your profile so that it looks like a really good one that I would source if I was looking for a portfolio company CFO. Like most executive search firms, LinkedIn is our ultimate tool when it comes to sourcing talent. And so optimizing your LinkedIn profile is an absolute must-have. What I've got here, maybe to his slight embarrassment, is our CEO's LinkedIn page. Now, Ken is doing some of the basics really well. He's got a fantastic professional headshot. His banner image is industry appropriate, gives a sense of what he's all about. Also love that he's got the icons from his current company and his alma mater in that top right-hand corner. Now, a good starting point if you're open to new roles is to change your status to let recruiters like me know you are on the market. In LinkedIn's recruiter tool, this can help push you up the list of candidates who will fit our list of criteria, and it's also something we actively screen for. Now, you can get really quite detailed here in terms of job preferences, and that's well worth doing. This also really helps us as we're screening for ideal candidates, especially if it's a remote role, for example. That's very popular right now. Very critically, you can make all of this invisible to anyone who isn't a recruiter. Lots of people aren't quite ready to announce to their current employer that they're looking for that big next opportunity. So if that applies to you, do make sure that you have clicked this option. Next big thing to whip into shape is your about section. So here, the secret to success is to make sure that you are describing your background, maximizing as many keywords as possible that will direct a recruiter like me to your profile, whilst also making sure that you sound like an intelligent human who hasn't just copied and pasted a list of CFO keywords off the internet. Next tip is to make sure that you are relatively active on LinkedIn. We're more likely to reach out to someone who is active and therefore more likely to see and potentially respond to our outreach. And you become active, so to speak, by following other profiles and commenting on posts. This probably doesn't bear mentioning, but just in case, remember to keep your comments professional. It's very easy to see what you have commented on other people's posts, and LinkedIn isn't Facebook. Thank goodness. Fourth thing to do is to make sure your work experience is up to date and complete. Make sure that all of your promotions are included as well as your companies. This is another opportunity to integrate keywords into your profile that will show up in our recruiter search. Once your LinkedIn profile is optimized, you can start reaching out to your network or looking at executive search websites to see if you can directly apply to roles that pique your interest. This one is a classic, but make sure your resume is up to date, tailored to the role that you want, in this case, CFO of a portfolio company. But if you know, for example, that this particular CFO opportunity is going to look for a CFO that spikes on the strategy side of things, make sure those parts are brought out in the resume that you submit for that role. Okay, let's wrap up by talking about money. Here is what you can expect to make in terms of base and bonus as a CFO of a PE portfolio company. Unsurprisingly, the larger the company, the larger the base and bonus tends to be. And after the 1 billion point, the bonuses tend to be larger as a proportion to the base salary. Of course, a really big draw to the private equity world is the equity. So here we've got findings from Heidrick & Struggles compensation report. I'll put the link to this full report in our description below. But basically, as you can see here, for companies up to about 500 million, you can expect the CFO to take about a percentage point in equity. After that, it is slightly less as the company grows in size. Of course, offers are always going to be negotiated. And here at ECA, we are really well versed in helping our clients and their top candidate picks arrive at agreements that leave everyone happy. I hope this overview was helpful. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask them below. And if you're interested in learning more about ECA, please head over to our website. Here we are, eca-partners.com. You can also reach out directly to myself or my colleague Stephen directly. Our contact details are all here. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to hit like and subscribe to stay up to date with all of our content.